It starts with one step. So just getting people to understand that it takes one step closer. Every time you take a step, you're one step closer to your dream. Well, Martellus Bennett is my name. Jusui Martellus Bennett,
Yes.
right? Yeah, so Martellus Bennett played for Chicago Bears, which is American football. I'm also a writer, imaginator. I just make stuff, so I'm a visionary architect,
Wow.
which is a real cool way of saying I make stuff. For me, I feel like time is really just schedule. So time management, which is a gift. You have to learn how to manage time and when to do things and when not to work on things and how much time you have at each subject that you want to do or each discipline. So for me, it's just really good time management, whether it's, if I train, I write early in the morning before I train, then I hang out with my family, then I may train again, then I write and hang out with my family again. So I eliminate things that are not essential. So I'm what you would call an essentialist. I only do the things that are essential to my life and my happiness. Well, lots and lots of hard work. I wasn't always one of the best, so I had to work my way up from middle school to high school to college to the NFL now. So when I first started NFL, I was actually a backup. So someone was playing in front of me for 4 years, and then I left that team and I became a starter. And ever since then, I've just been ascending. So just constantly staying the course and believing in myself. Well, really, I just envision where I want to be. So the job I want, where I want to go, how many hours I'm going to work, how I'm going to get there. So I envision that. So I see myself there already while I'm in process of getting there. I just feel like if it's just like anywhere you want to go, if you're traveling the world, there's usually a map.
Yes.
But when it comes to things that you're trying to do in life, there's not a map. So you have to create your own map to where you want to go. So I just figure I'd create a map because everywhere else I go, I have GPS that tells me to make a right, make a left, or how far something is away from the other place, point A to point B. So I just created my own roadmap of what I thought the steps I would need to take all the way to get there. Then I work myself backwards. So I start with where I want to be, and then from there I imagine all the things I had to do to get there from where I am now. Then I work my way back up. Well, at 15, I had a lot of I still have a lot of dreams. I think a lot of people think you only get one dream, but I think you have as many dreams as you want. It's just how many can you catch. And I'm what you call a dream catcher, and I do what you call dreamscaping. So it's like how you do landscaping and make everything pretty for how you want it to look. And that's how I do with each dream. So you ever watch Pokemon?
Yes.
You gotta catch them. You gotta catch them all. And so I felt like I had to catch them all. So for me at 15, it was NBA. Out of high school, I was in the NBA draft. But my mom wanted me to go to college. And when I went to college, it was NFL. But the number one dream has always been the creative side, to do movies and films and tell stories. And that's the one I'm still chasing. That's why I'm here in Los Angeles now. Football was just a part of the journey, and it was just part of how I end up getting to where I am right now. But I think there was another avenue that I could have been just as successful if I went down that road. I think I just ended up traveling down this road where professional sports just happened to be the way that I went this way. And, like I say, football is not my purpose, it's my platform. So I basically, build up the things I want to do because you have so many eyes on you when you play professional sports. There's so many people, they follow you, kids look up to you. So you have a chance to use that platform for some good, to teach kids that there's other things that they could do. So I use football as a platform to get my message out across the world. So everybody's trying to do what they could do to make themselves better. And just kind of what the culture has transformed into. There's people who are around that try to, they build up other people, not just themselves. But with technology and everything else, all the kids, they grow up and they want to be the people that they see on TV. But the only thing they see is the end result. They don't see all the work that it took to get there. So if there's a way you could show kids the process of working, like you don't just wake up and be Tom Cruise. You know, Tom Cruise had to take acting classes, learn how to act better, you know, whether it's get himself in great shape and, you know, always nail his lines, but he wasn't just always Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise at one point, no one knew him, but he worked his way up. Same thing with everybody else. So I think a lot of people, they work so hard that, and it took them so long to get where they are, that it's hard for them to try to give somebody else what they feel like would be the easy way in. They feel like they should work their way up too. Visualization, so visualizing everything. You got to have imagination to visualize, so that kind of goes in the same thing. So I put imagination and visualization in the same thing. You have to be passionate about what you want, what it is that you want to do, and you have to find balance. For me, I find balance in saying no. Because a lot of times you can say yes to, like, if there's something I don't want to do 100%, you know, somebody's like, hey, let's go get a drink. You know, I kind of want to go out and have a drink, but I'm not 100% into it, so I just say no. If I really like, so someone be like, oh, let's go get some ice cream. I love ice cream, so I'm like, yes, let's go get ice cream. There's not. So if there's any gray area, I usually say no, which means, because if there's gray area, that means that it wasn't really something I want to do, and it's not essential to my life. If we eliminate the non-essential things and only focus on the things that are essential to our days and our life, then we're more productive. Each day varies, but most days I start at 5:30.
Okay.
This is usually when I wake up, and I brush my teeth first. And,
Very important.
Yeah. So I brush my teeth, and but from like 5:30 to 10 a.m. I write. So basically, I wake up and I just write whatever it is I'm working on.
Yeah.
And then from there, I have breakfast and I hang out with my wife and my daughter.
What do you eat? Do you have a special way to eat?
Well, usually right now I try to eliminate decision making and what I'm gonna eat, because it's just, you know, so usually I eat oatmeal, fresh fruit, and a couple of scrambled eggs, and turkey sausage. So I usually eat that almost every single morning. And from after breakfast, I hang out, play with my daughter and my wife, and then after that, I go to the gym, and then I work out for a couple hours, and then when I finish at the gym, I come back, shower, and then I hang out with my wife and my daughter all day until they go to sleep, and when they go to sleep, I go back and write again. Well, one is fitness and being in shape, but I think about not dying. So I want to keep myself in great shape so I don't die. And the ultimate goal is I like to look good in my clothes.
Okay.
So it's like a personal thing as well. You know, like I like to look a certain way. But the ultimate goal is so I can perform at a high level on the football field. So I think about what I need to do to continue to be the best in my profession. Well, I always push myself until I feel like I went as far as I could go, and then the next day, if I do that thing again, I push myself to go further than I did, and then further than that. So each time, I don't overdo it, so I push myself and beat what I did last time, and then the next time I do that same drill, I push myself to beat that, then I push. So that way, it's always room to improve, and I'm always trying to improve. And then there's a difference between being brave and courageous and being an idiot. You know, so you know, you don't want to kill yourself, but there's always, because I always say, like, raise your hand high as you can. Now raise it a little bit higher. See, you got a little bit extra that you can raise your hand. So everybody, you tell them raise their hand as high as they can, but then you say raise it a little bit higher, everybody goes a little bit further. So I just think that there's a little bit more that you could do each time. Yes, because there's a lot of people that get to that zone and they give up. The people who could break through that threshold and keep pushing are the ones that find the most improvement and go places that others will not work to get there. I think I think a lot of times people say they want something, but it's not really what they want. They think that's what they want. Until you find out what it is you really want in life, you won't work as hard as you can to get there. So like if I want to climb a mountain, if I want to go out and go walk up a mountain, which is what I really don't want to do. When it gets hard, getting closer to the top, I'm gonna turn around and go down because going to the top is not my passion. It's not what I really want to do. So everyone has to figure out what their mountain is and what's at the top that they're really trying to get to. Because once you figure that out, when things get hard, you look up, you look down. What's up there is more important than what you left behind. So you keep going. So I think it's figuring out where you actually want to go, and is that really what you want, or is that what everybody else wants for you? I think for athletes, it's like an entrepreneur because our body is our business. So you start training your body from high school all through college, and you don't really get paid for that journey until you get to the NFL. So it's like you're getting rewarded for 10 years of work at one time. So I think that's the thing that people really don't realize about athletes, is that to get where they want to go, it's constantly training, constantly making sacrifices just to become a professional athlete. So you put in time that no one really notices before you're a professional. Then all the time that you put in to get there is what you get paid for. But to get paid, you know, it feels great. You know, you go, you know, like in early stages, you know, you think about buying material things because those are things that you always saw, and you think those things make you more of who you really are, but it really doesn't. So, you know, you want to buy the best cars, the best shoes, the best everything. But at the end of the day, I'm still Martellus, just in a BMW. The BMW doesn't make me more of Martellus. So when money's, you know, money's not the, money is a tool. You know, you use money, you don't let money use you. So for me, understanding that money wasn't, the happiness wasn't found in money, but it was found in my relationships, you know, with my family, or, you know, my friends, or, you know, accomplishing goals and dreams. That's where the true happiness comes from. If money is brought into that, it's cool if you make money doing the things you love. But the things I love, I love to do the things I love because it's not because of the money. I just love to do those things. Money is just a
tool to achieve it.
Yeah, to achieve it. When it comes to money, I would say save it. I think you have to enjoy it. So it's okay to buy yourself nice things, but just because you could buy something doesn't mean that you can afford it. You know, which is two different things. Like, you know, a lot of times people go buy, you know, a Ferrari, but the maintenance, you know, the upkeep, the gas, you know, just taking care of it, you can't really afford to upkeep that car. Where if you went and got you a Toyota Camry, you can afford that car. You can do everything in it. You could always keep it up. You can always get it checked up. You can always get new tires wherever you may need. So for them, it's figuring out what you can afford and what you're just buying. So save your money. I always say,
how many percent?
I always say I don't have no percentage of it because everybody's a little different, and my percentage is a lot lower than the guys that I work with. So I would say that you're supposed to live below your means, which means, you know, just because you could buy a $5 million house doesn't mean that you have to. You could go get you a $700,000 house and be just as happy. So I just try to live below my means. Depends on how much I make.
Okay.
So I try to, I mean, honestly, you would like to at least save at least 60 to 70% of your money and live off 30% of it if you can. But that's making sacrifices. It's like, you know, like my monthly budget, you know, it's like a little bit over $1,000 a month, you know, for me. But that's extremely low depending on regarding how much money that I make, you know. In my account, I manage everything that I do not just spend without thinking. I always think it through, because there's sometimes I do the 100% thing. Like sometimes I see something and, like, you know, I look at it and then I kind of want it, but I don't want it 100%, so I don't buy it.
Okay, it's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I apply it to everything in life. My purpose, I feel, is to communicate with the world through creativity. So basically, whether it's a book, whether it's a film, movie, cartoon, wherever it is, there's a message, you know, that needs to be communicated. Well, each message varies depending on where I am in life at that time.
No.
But right now it's just that dreams come true.
Okay.
So the message that I'm trying to give to people is that if you could dream it, then you could do it. If you could imagine it, then you're already on your way of getting there. And if you want to go do it, just go do it. Everything starts with one step. No matter where we want to go, if you go backwards or you want to go forward, it starts with one step. So just getting people to understand that it takes one step closer. Every time you take a step, you're one step closer to your dream. That's the only direction I go. So I never go back this way. I always go. Sometimes I have to step back to see everything. You know, I was like, oh, hold on a second. You know, what did I do right there? What can I do to make that better? And but I'm always walking in the same direction. I'm always focused on going towards what my dreams are. Yeah, I do. I call it life planning. So like 10 years I want to be here, 20 years I want to be there. I usually stick to like the 8 to 10 year range because there's so much that could change. But I usually have like, you know, goals within. But sometimes I think connecting and networking with people is very important because that could speed up your dreams. Product is more important than the connections because if you don't have you can make the connections, but if your product isn't ready, then the connection is not worth anything. So the connection is worthless. I tell people to focus on going places that will be with like-minded people. So if I want to go to something, I'd rather go to an event that has, you know, movie producers and actors than to go to one with a bunch of entrepreneurs who do restaurants. Because that connection for me is not the best connection. But
you don't know.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, you don't know. But I know that in this connection, in this area, meeting these type of people are the ones that are trying to do the same thing that I'm doing or doing what I'm doing. So those connections are a little bit more powerful than the ones of a guy who runs a car wash. You know, who may know a lot of people who wash a lot of cars, who may have encountered tons of people washing their cars. But I try to put myself in areas of like-minded people. I personally, I don't think you seek people out. I think it just kind of happens.
Okay.
It's just fate. So like if you go somewhere or you're with someone, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You cross paths with them. Sometimes you cross paths with somebody 150 times, but you never have spoken to them before. But then the 151st time, you guys talk. But that time that went past between not talking, you were developing and growing as a person. So that 151st time, it was right on because it's right where your mind was. Because sometimes you can meet people too early and you don't really know what to do with that connection, or you can meet people too late where you already passed up, you know, because there's so much growth in people and you grow every single day. We're growing tremendously. So you just want to continue to grow, and you just hope that growth that you're on meets the people at the right time. It's like you and I, if say you weren't doing films yet, and we met, then this would never happen. You know, if we met a couple years ago, it was just been like a good conversation.
Yes,
but since we met where I'm doing film, you're doing film, we're both in the same mindset of motivating and inspiring others, then the connection worked. No, I like, me personally, I like to take people from different disciplines. So like I kind of work with all designers. I think design is basically design is in everything. So like the way you design your day and your calendar, that's by design. Your lifestyle is by design. Not just when you make a table, that's designed, but it's created through design, but you create your day through design. When you lay out your clothes, the clothes you put on, you do that by design, you know, or the way you write or the way you put your stuff in your backpacks and the way you neatly place everything, that's by design. So we live by design, but people don't really know that design is living. So for me, I try to, I like-minded people. I do work with I like winners. I like people who are ambitious and people who are goal. If they're not, focus driven, then I usually don't hang out with them because
it's a waste of time.
So yeah, I wouldn't say like it's a waste of time, but you want people who around you that are better than you. Like I want to surround myself with smarter people who are smart. Because if I'm the smartest person in the room, then we have a problem. You know,
exactly.
So I want people who are smarter than me, people who are more creative than me, people who know a little bit more around me, so that way they bring me up to a higher level as well, and I pick them up as well, because you can't be the greatest at every single thing that you do. Yes, that way you can focus on what you do great, they can focus on what you do great, then you take all those slices of genius, it's like a pizza, so you may have 2 slices of genius in one thing, Albin may have a couple slices of genius in everything, you know, so we take all those slices of genius and we make a good pizza. You know, because some days I may only have 1 slice, but 1 slice of pizza can't help us all.
Yes, exactly.
For me right now, it's just about opportunity.
Okay.
Sometimes just the opportunity to showcase your work, and once you get the opportunity, then I feel like I could take it from there. And I think I got a great opportunity coming up that I came out here looking for the opportunity on my own, and was able to get it, and then I got another opportunity to come back and take it from there. So I'm super excited about that. But I think just me being prepared for the opportunity was the biggest thing. Well, no, it's not just. I mean, it's a
system.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's so it's not one-dimensional. It's like a spider web. There's a lot of things connected to many things that ultimately is connected to one thing, which is the spider, and I'm the spider, and I have all the webs. I think that's a good description. But overall, you know, the goal is to create in several facets, so that because other people, to communicate with everyone, everybody communicates differently. Some people like art, some people understand cartoons, some people it's books. So it'll be Dr. Seuss. I love Dr. Seuss and the way he rhymed and the way he did everything. Shel Silverstein was also an author that I love. Tim Burton, all his films are, you know, kind of what inspired me in his story, where he came up, because he used to be at Disney, but then he left Disney and started doing his own thing. You know, there's Ed Catmull and John Lasseter, who's at DreamWorks. I mean, not at DreamWorks, that's at Pixar. Jim Carrey.
Okay.
I love Jim Carrey. I always thought he was extremely funny. Richard Pryor. There's just a long list of people that I looked up to. You're trying to say if there's something that, if I see Tim Burton, there's something about him that I feel like I have inside of me.
Yes.
But how do I bring that out of myself?
Yes.
Yes, I do believe that you do that. I think there's a lot of people that influence you are already part of your DNA. So like some stuff I create may look like something Tim Burton would do, but I grew up watching Tim Burton and I love him so much that it's just a part of me.
Yes.
Same thing like Will Smith. I love Will Smith from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, everything. So there's a lot of times people tell me like, hey, you're like Will Smith a little bit. I'm like, it's because I grew up watching Will Smith so long. Like Will Smith charisma and energy is totally different, but I think it's because we're all kind of influenced by the same Richard Pryor, all those people that we grew up watching, you know, and I think we all have a little bit of that in us, so we all kind of go in the same way, because he's influenced by them, he changes it up a little bit, that makes him Will Smith. So I'm influenced by Will Smith, I change it up a little bit, but that's what makes me Martellus. So I think it's just I don't know how it works, you know. Yeah, I've met, sometimes I do weird stuff like, so Ed Catmull was the guy at Pixar. He wrote a book called Creativity Inc. and he was doing a book signing here in California, but I was in Chicago. And I had a friend that was at the book signing, so when he got next to Ed, he called me on the phone, he just gave it to Ed, and I started talking to him on the phone. So I email him, I track him down by email. Sometimes it's, you know, they respond and sometimes they don't. Well, first I would make a call to a lady named Denise, who's a PR expert. She knows pretty much everybody or who they work for. So then I would have her call Will Smith PR representation, and then they would get a call. Then I would try to get a contact somehow to set up a meeting, and then I would, you know, end up trying to set up a lunch with him. So basically reaching out. The first step, I think a lot of people feel like people are unreachable or unattainable, but people always love when people reach out to them because you're interested in them and you want to have a conversation. If they have the time, they will do it. I think it's when you reach out to that person, what you write or what you're doing to reach out to them. So if I send an email, and the email is going to say, man, I appreciate everything you do. You influenced me a whole lot, you know, through my lifetime. I love your work, and there's some things about you that I'm inspiring to find, that I'm finding myself, that I would love to talk to you to see how, if there any more information you could tell me about your journey, and how, you know, so I could tell you about my journey, and we could break bread together. So basically, you know, come off in a sincere way. Don't be too over the top. You know, like, oh my God, it's Will Smith. You know, sometimes a lot of people want to be cool. You know, what they think is cool is, but cool is measured. People decide what's cool and what's not cool. So you never really want to be cool, because cool is decided by society, and when society decided something, it's usually terrible. Exactly. So just, if you're doing everything else that everyone else is, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, then you're just like them. You know, everybody wants to be different, or everyone tries to be different, but really being different is just being you. You know, Dr. Seuss said, no one can be youer than you. Yes, and Oscar Wilde said, be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, you know, being yourself, which is cool, you know, but trying to be something that you're not, that's not cool. Well, the key is I never really wanted to be them. I enjoy their work, so for me, I think that so basically it's just like making a gumbo, making soup. So basically, you're the base, but you just take a little bit of them, take a little bit of him, take a little bit of her. You sprinkle all that in there, which makes you, you know, because there's things that influence you that or change you through the culture. So I don't think that you imitate. I think there's some things that, like, there's something to completely knock somebody off, to rip something off and do it just like them. But there's another thing to learn from their experiences and do what they did better. So when you try to do something better, it's like the light.
Evolution.
It's evolution. It's innovation. So it's like the light bulb. There's been so many light bulbs made, but they're steady creating better ones and new ones. So they're not imitating the first light bulb. They're just making better light bulbs. Or like the telephone. Yeah, that's because we missed out on the enlightenment period because of the years that we were born. So there were times when people were creating to find solutions. So they had to create a light bulb because the only thing they had were candles. So they needed a better solution. Or like one of the best solutions that no one ever thinks about is the window screen. The screen that goes on the outside of the windows, because people were dying from getting bit by insects. So for a solution, they had to create a window screen, or, you know, the wheels. They had to find a better wheel. They make a better wheel. They make another wheel that's better than that. So because you always, what we're in our age, we're more about quick results. So we create technology. So what we're trying to do is just make it where you could do something quicker, you know, faster, you know, or eliminate the process of a middleman. Because right now they're taking creativity out of schools, especially in America, like art and band and music. And me personally, I do want to drive a flying car. I would be lying. I would be lying if I said I didn't want to drive a flying car. But, you know, in 500 years, I see a world that, you know, that runs by computer. But it can go two ways. You want the humans to run the computers, not the computers to run the humans. So we're teetering on the edge where it's going to be a computer-driven society, and the computers are more alive than the people. I just want to make sure that the people are a lot more alive than the computers, because we give so much artificial intelligence to everything, and people are so stuck looking down. And it might be in a generation where everybody walks around like this because their necks are stuck from texting so much. So everybody's going to be walking like this.
My name is Matt Immersion, and I live in Los Angeles, California, and who am I? I mean, I wrote a book called Every Monday Matters, so I guess I'm an author, which then that started an organization and a company called Every Monday Matters. So that inspires people to understand how much they matter and to make a difference in the world. So I guess I'm an inspirational speaker. I'm a visionary. I like to entrepreneur.
Okay.
Family man.
Wow.
That's who I am. Well, the backstory to it is that I used to work in the music industry.
Okay.
And so I started managing bands in Los Angeles. And then I ended up taking the demo of a band to Robert Kardashian.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that everyone in France has also heard of the Kardashians, Kim, Khloe, Kourtney, all the family. And Robert, their father, was a successful music man. And so I took the CD to him to see what he thought of the band. And actually, in that first meeting, he ended up offering me a job at his company. So I was hired as a senior vice president of his music marketing company.
Wow.
And so then I was still working with these local bands, in LA, one particular, some other bands in LA. And then all of a sudden now I'm working for him. And the bands that he worked for were a little bit different than the bands that I worked for, because he did projects for bands like U2 and Coldplay and Avril Lavigne and Tim McGraw and Usher and Black Eyed, you name it. They did marketing promotion campaigns for all the major labels and all the major artists. So now my world shifts a little bit from trying to get good shows at the Viper Room and the Whiskey to now being at huge shows like with U2 on stage, and I'm holding Bono's son, like, wow, 40,000 people are flipping out watching this concert, to this really kind of crazy fast-paced life of the entertainment business, right? So it's it's working all day, it's going out at night, it's partying, it's maybe doing some substances you shouldn't be doing, it's objectifying women, it's this whole slippery slope of fame and fortune, and my priorities just kind of shifted. And so it was actually a Monday morning when I was getting ready for work that I woke up and I thought that I was having a heart attack.
Wow.
Way earlier in my life, I was actually an ambulance driver. So I figured I could drive myself to the doctor, even though I thought I was having a heart attack, which isn't the best idea in the world to do. And they did tests on me, and in terms I wasn't having a heart attack, but I was having a severe panic attack. And so I had never had panic before in my life, or anxiety or anything like that. And the doctor said, listen, just go home and try to rest and see if it goes away. And for me, it didn't go away. And it actually got worse. I felt, my heart was racing, my skin, I just wanted to get out of my skin. It just felt like I wanted to peel my skin off my body. Wow. I was sweating, my breathing was different. I just felt like I was losing my mind. I felt like some alien crawled inside my brain and just took controls of all the levers. And all of a sudden, my body was doing all these things and I had no control over what it was doing. In the moment, I was so scared. I don't know if I thought that I was gonna die. I just didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know if I wanted to go out in the street and run. I didn't know if I wanted to try to sleep, if I needed to figure out how to go home to my parents. I didn't know where to go to stop the feeling of fear that I had. So at first I kind of refused taking any medicine because I just didn't want to think that, maybe I have anxiety or depression. Oh, wow, maybe I need to do these sorts of things. So I was fighting it, and I'm not going to give in to this. And as I fought it, it got worse. So it got to the point where I couldn't drive a car anymore. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep.
Wow.
When it got dark at night, I couldn't look out my windows because I was getting very claustrophobic. So my panic attack turned into chronic anxiety disorder, where literally my life started shutting down. This was about 2 months into this now.
Wow.
And at the time, this is over 10 years ago. So about 2 months into it, then my parents actually came down to LA to move in with me, just to try to help me figure out how to rebuild. And during this process, I was introduced to a therapist. And so I went to see her begrudgingly. I worked in the music industry. I had a big ego, very narcissistic, no, I don't need any of this stuff, I'll be fine. And when I went to see her, she gave me a book, and she said, I want you to read the first sentence of this book. And the first sentence read, "It's not about you." And again, from the mindset that I was coming from, this narcissistical, egotistical kind of place that I lived every day, it's like, how can this not be about me? Because then who could it be about? I'm the one here needing your help. So to say it's not about me is weird. So I actually left. And about a week later, she called me back again and asked me if I'd come in again. And I said I would, because at that point in time, I honestly started having some suicidal thoughts, like driving on the freeway, I could just yank my wheel and this could be over. And not that I never thought I could do that, but I had those thoughts. I went back in to see her again, and she slid the book across the table again, and she said, "I want you to read the first sentence." And I'm like, "I got it. It's a short one. It's not about me." And she said, "Until you understand that it's not about you, you're never going to feel better." And that was just that moment. It was like someone threw me that life ring. I was drowning, and someone threw me that ring, and I said, "Fine. What do I have to do? I'm in. I got to change this."
Wow. Wow.
But when you go to bed on a Sunday night and you feel like you're on top of the world, right? I mean, everything was great. I had a home, I had a great job, I had a great life. Everything seemed perfect. Like if you checked it off on paper, okay, Matt's doing fine, But and you go to bed Sunday night, and then you wake up Monday morning, and all of a sudden the whole world turns upside down, and all I did was sleep in between. It's hard to understand, like, what happened? Like, what went wrong? How do I fix it if I don't even know what went wrong? Like all these sorts of things. Well, I learned it slowly. So the biggest, besides all our conversations that I had with my therapist, and she's still a near and dear friend to me 10 years later, I call her my expensive friend. The biggest thing that she probably did for me was every Saturday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, I had to get up by myself and go do something to serve something. So I had to either go feed homeless people, or I had to go pick up litter, or paint over graffiti, or read to elderly. So every Saturday she gave me an action I had to go do. And it was about 2 to 3 months into that process when the light bulb went off for me. And because I was out and I was picking up litter, and my friends called me, it was a Saturday morning, and in America, Saturday morning is college football day. So everyone's watching college football games.
Yes.
And my buddies called and said, "Hey Matt, why don't you come over and we'll eat some food, we'll smoke some weed, we'll drink some booze, watch football all day, play video games." And it was in that moment when I said, "You know what, guys, I'm out picking up litter right now in LA, and I'm so happy, like I'm just gonna keep picking up litter. Like I don't wanna come do what you're doing." And it was in that moment that I realized that, like, what she meant by it, to live a life that's not about you, that to actually live a life that served something more than your own self-pleasures. And so that was kind of when it made sense. That I had created a life that was so much about pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. More money, more substances, more women, pleasure, pleasure, pleasure. And in doing that, I lost my soul. I lost who I was. Yeah, so what ended up happening is this process of every Saturday ended up inspiring me to realize that I'm probably not the only person in the world that's trying to find their success or their significance and their purpose in all the wrong places. And I know what this recipe of service did for my life and for my heart and for my soul. So it inspired this idea to write a book that would give people the same recipe that they could follow if they wanted to, and with the hopes that it would bring that to their lives as well, and in doing so make the world a better place. And so I ended up writing a book called Every Monday Matters with a good friend of mine, Kelly Boza. And I didn't do Every Saturday Matters, I did Every Monday Matters. I was doing in therapy, I was doing the Every Saturday plan that I broke down on a Monday morning. And also, people usually don't like Mondays. Yes. It's the day you start working or school, and people can hate Mondays so much it actually ruins their Sundays, because you're looking forward to them, or you're looking to the Monday to come. So we called it Every Monday Matters, as a way to start your week on don't dread it, but be excited about it. Like it's a day it's a new week, it's a new day, it's a new time to get involved and change the world. And so that was it. It was a very simple book. It was 52 Mondays with ideas of what you can do
1 year.
in 1 year. And there were things for the environment, like plant a tree, pick up litter, change your light bulbs. There's things for yourself, like eat healthy, get your exercise, meditate,
that.
pray. Other people, write a letter of appreciation to somebody. It's kind of like the dummy's guide to just being a better person. Well, about a month after the book came out, this was 6 years ago now, I received an email from a single mother. She was 24 years old and she lives in Palm Springs, California. And she was driving down the road and she saw a car pulled over on the side of the road with a woman and a man in the front seat. And she figured they were having car trouble because it was a really hot day. And so she decided to pull over to see if she could help them with their car trouble. When she got to the car, she learned that the husband had severe Alzheimer's. And at this point in time was pretty much not functional, just kind of there. And the woman had just hit the end of her rope. And she was actually there to commit suicide. And she was going to try to jump in front of an oncoming car. Wow. And so Darby, this woman who stopped to help them, sends me this email that basically explains this whole scenario. In the middle of it, it had the copy from a thank you letter that the woman wrote to Darby to thank her for saving their lives. And then under that it said, if it wasn't for your book, I would have never pulled my car over. And so for me, that was that moment I needed. And I said—
A new wake-up call.
That was another wake-up call. Let's just keep tacking them on. And I said, this is it. And so I actually quit. I left the business. I said, I want to live a life that matters, and I really know that people out there want to do the same thing. And so I walked away from the music business and to start this thing and try to take a book and make it into more of a movement. If there was a recipe for creating a movement, everyone would
I will buy it.
Everyone would buy it, right? It's like
it's the next project.
It's like, how do you shoot the perfect viral video?
Yeah.
Every video would be viral. It started with the website. So now, and I will say we a lot as I explain this, but the we was me, okay? It started as a website, and now I'm working from home, and just a very simple website. I ended up shooting a video, and I went around and just asked people in LA, strangers, if they would be in my video. Which is kind of a strange conversation in LA a little bit. It's like, will you be in my video? And we shot a video, we launched the video, and at this time, San Diego, California had some major fires. They had like 46 fires or 26 fires all at the same time. Like San Diego was just in flames. And so I had this idea that what if I got people who bought the book, who were sending me emails saying, we love this, and we sold like 140,000 copies. So there was an audience kind of building, for this. What if I got them to write letters to thank the firefighters for fighting the fires? So all of a sudden I started getting all these letters. And then I said, who wants to help deliver these letters? And so we went to San Diego and we delivered all these letters to the fire stations in San Diego. And there was 26 stations down there, I think, and it became this really beautiful exchange of like, wow, just in an instant, putting an idea out there to the world. People jumped on it, we went and did it, and it was done. We impacted lives.
I love that.
And so that was the first thing we ever did, was the letter writing campaign. And then I got, started to ask to do some speaking stuff, just kind of smaller speaking stuff. I got asked to write a newspaper column. That was in one paper, and then it was the newspaper in my hometown of Modesto, California. And then McClatchy Group picked that up and syndicated it out to their other 300 papers. So that kind of started to build this kind of thing. And then we were introduced to Oprah's team.
Wow.
And
good moment for you.
Yeah, good moment for us. And so we ended up we were on Oprah.com and in her Spirit newsletter every Monday for a year, talking about what the Monday activity was.
Wow.
The biggest turning point where it kind of went from me to starting to build a team was we had a lot of teachers who emailed us asking if we had lesson plans for for the youth, to teach the kids these lessons of like self and social responsibility. And so we ended up writing a school curriculum that teaches our youth that they matter. And it's kindergarten through 12th grade. And in 4 years, we ended up in almost 3,000 schools across the country.
Wow.
And which was crazy because I never wrote school curriculum. None of our team had ever done it, but we worked with some amazing educators. And all of a sudden, it just kind of took off in the schools. And then the next thing that happened was companies in America started reaching out to us and wanting to know if we had any sort of team building exercise or experience that we could do with them. A lot of team building events have to do with scavenger hunts or ropes courses or, cooking competitions, like whatever these things are. And companies were looking for maybe something that had a little more substance to it. And so they called me, do you have a team building event? Well, of course I don't. Just like we didn't have a school curriculum, but we can make one, right? It's kind of like you're fearless. And so we made an event that was really powerful and experience for employees to engage in and go out in the community and make a difference and understand what it's like to serve and how much they matter and all this kind of stuff. And that turned into more keynoting for me. It also turned into then these companies saying, hey, when you guys are here, there's a spike of inspiration, but then when you leave, it kind of starts to go back down to how it used to be.
Yeah.
And so now we created a curriculum, if you will, for companies where just like the students are doing in school every Monday, employees are doing it every Monday in the workplace as well. It's kind of the same program now as Every Monday Matters. So, again, the book is 6 years old, so I kind of call it like our fancy brochure at this point because it's outdated. It's hard to find. So now Every Monday Matters is now delivered more digitally through the web, through social media, through these sorts of things. And basically what we do is we look at the year, 12 months, and we talk about what are things in the world that we think are lacking, or what are things that we could help bring more of. Yeah, so to give an example, I think people can be more happy in the world. And so this last month, March, is Monday Gets Happy. And so we looked at March, and every Monday of March was something you could do to generate more happiness, either in your life or in the world. So it's things like surprise someone, and that's your activity for the week. Figure out how you can surprise one person and do it, and then share it, talk about it, inspire other people to do it. I think that's a great observation because one of the things with Every Monday Matters where, again, is another one of those learning moments for me. I think in the beginning, like my ego in a way was still so involved in it.
Yes.
Because I wanted to say, because of our book, I'm going to prove that there's less litter on the streets. Like somehow I could calculate that number. Like right now there's X number of pieces of litter, and in 3 years because of our book there's going to be Y, and it's going to be a lot less than X, right? What I learned along the journey is that that's completely the wrong approach.
Okay. Because it was about you.
That's right. Instead, what I learned is the power of the two words, you matter. And I've met so many people along this journey, whether they're students in schools or CEOs of companies or convicted felons in programs where I've spoken, that so many people in the world don't understand how much they matter. And that is devastating to me. And so that's where my love for this comes in, because I see what happens when I look at someone and say, hey man, you matter. And you have special gifts. And whether it's your ability to make people smile, or whether it's your ability to design the next rocket that's going to go to Mars, or whatever it is about you, you matter. And own that and take that to the world, in whatever form that looks like for you. That to me is what changes the world. And it's funny because it just reminds me of a conversation I was having over email recently with somebody else that I think you should definitely interview.
Okay.
And her name is Gabby Yuri.
Okay.
And she's a 15-year-old girl
Wow.
who's about to break the world record for planking and which is alone is amazing. But the fact that she's even still alive because of a lot of physical issues that she's had with her health her whole life makes it a whole nother miracle. And I asked Gabby a series of questions about herself, and it's, what are you passionate about and why? How do you like to spend your time? What keeps you up at night? What brings you joy and makes your heart sing? Where do you see your life in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? Who inspires you? Who are your role models? I think a lot of these kind of really gut questions, yeah, we have to ask. I think people are really good at asking the question, like, when you get up in the morning and you look in front of the mirror, it's really easy to go kind of in a confused, negative place. Like, what is this life even about? Like, why am I even here? Like, it's just like Groundhog Day. Another day, I get up, I brush my teeth, I go to work, I come home, I eat dinner, I go to bed, I watch bad TV, then I go, it's like, we're not asking the right questions of ourselves. And I think when we start to do that more, we're going to understand more about what is that thing that I could take to the world, and don't be afraid to go do it. I mean, I always wake up and I'm excited to get up in the morning. I'm one of those people that when I wake up, even if it's at 5 in the morning, my brain is on. How do I, it's interesting, and I hate to admit this, but like I'm not a huge reader. So I don't spend a lot of time in books. I might go online and maybe watch some inspirational videos. My daily morning, it's not that deep. The beginning of it, I get up and I put some clothes on. I don't shower. I go straight to Starbucks and I get myself a large green tea and I get my wife a chai tea. I come home and then I usually get online. I get a sense of what the day might look like, any emergency or any fires I wasn't planning on, an email or any text or anything like that. And then I kind of really sit for a second. I think about, okay, what are my priorities to get? It a little bit becomes, in business mode. What do I need to get done? Where can I fit certain things in that I wasn't planning on? And usually it's around 3 or 4 o'clock for me, where my body starts to say, okay, let's step out of that work mode and spend a bit of quiet time. For whatever reason, 4 p.m. is like that time where I really feel my body go, and it might be a 15-minute nap. It might be just 20 minutes of just sitting in quiet or laying on the bed. And then I'll finish that, go back to work, and then I exercise 6 days a week in the evenings. So 6 o'clock I go exercise, I come home, I have dinner, and then I really go kind of more into relax mode. Well, I think it's okay, like with what you're endeavoring to do, right? I think it's okay if you come in here with an ego and you're confident and you believe in it and all those sorts of things. And it's okay that you're somehow personally benefiting, like this is fulfilling something for you, right? Whether it's because you want to learn English or whatever these things are that you want to get from this as well. I think where it shifts though is that the nature of what you're doing is that you want to capture people on video and share that with the world to make the world a better place.
Yes.
And so I think where ego is dangerous is when it's only self-fulfilling.
Okay.
It's only about me. And it's all about, I'm in it for me.
Okay.
Where I struggle with ego today is this idea, and it's a saying that I've always wrestled with, was this idea of let go and let God.
Wow.
And that to me has always been an interesting thing, because I have to show up every day in every Monday Matters. Like, I am the face of it. I created this. It was my idea. I have to be there to show up and to drive it in a way. As an entrepreneur, if you have a business, you're the main energy source of it in a certain way. At the same time though, I'm not it. Like, it's got to be bigger than me. And I have to trust that it's bigger than me. And so where is that fine line between, okay, I got to push this, I got to drive the team, I got to make it happen. So for me, it was 2 years ago, a year and a half ago now, a year and 4 months ago, I was getting on an airplane to fly to, I actually had a speaking event in San Francisco in the morning. I flew from San Francisco to Los Angeles, then I had a 6-hour layover, which is in my hometown, so I went home, went back to the airport, and then I had to fly to Mississippi for another speaking event the next morning. And I got on the plane, drove to LAX, I got on the plane, I sat in my seat, I checked my bags, and I'm sitting on my seat, and all of a sudden I started getting the exact same feeling of panic that I did on that very first Monday, 10 years ago.
The plane.
On the plane. And I actually got out of my seat and I walked off the plane. And they said, you're not allowed off the plane. Your bags are checked, you have to stay. I said, well, you are not gonna keep me on this plane, I'm off. And so I walked off the plane. Strangely enough, the plane never made it to Mississippi because it got stopped in Atlanta because of weather, so I wouldn't have made it anyways. But in that moment, I realized that if you're not careful, like whether it's the music industry or whether it's trying to make the world a better place, in both instances, you can steer yourself the wrong way, right? I think at that moment, I was going too hard. I was that person, probably angry at this person, angry at that person. Why isn't this? Why isn't that? I need to be here, here, here. I want to be on the big TED stage. I don't want just TEDx. All these kind of thoughts you can start having through your head, and they can be incredibly unhealthy, just like it was when I was back in the music industry. And my hunch is that on this trip, you're probably having more fun. I'm guessing your interviews might be just as good, if not better. And the meaning of this trip is far greater and more important for you.
Thank you.
So in every Monday Matters terms, this is how we say it, and this is how the team says it to me. They said, Matt, you can't go out into the world and teach people that they matter if you don't teach yourself as though you matter. So that's what I...
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Right, but unless I'm able to understand that I matter and take care of myself, I can't go take that message out to the world because I'll be burned out. I'll be sick, And so that's what's allowed me to, and also with the help of amazing friends. I mean, I know I've said Sophie probably 4 times in this, but Sophie, I mean, the way she calms me, she gets me to understand to slow down. When I go to Shape House and to sweat for an hour, like those are things I never did before.
I will do that.
You have to do it. The thing that I felt inside when you were saying that to me was like, if I had to lose my family and my friends to go do something, I don't know that I could do it. I don't know that I'd want to do it. At the same time, I don't only want to just have family and friends in my life, right?
Yes.
I also want to accomplish other things that are my passions and my dreams. So I have to think that somewhere in there, there's a balance. And at the end of the day, I think that's probably the struggle. I think that whether you want to or not, and this is not to say anything negative towards people who work for somebody, or work for a larger company, to get up every day, and there's security. You have your job. It's from 9 to 6. You go, you do your work when you're at work. You come home. You're not working anymore. You're not at the office anymore, right? And then you're in family time, or you're in other time. Like there's clearer separations that are part of the structure of that.
Yes.
When you're someone like yourself, and you probably work from home, and you might be working at 1 in the morning, or at 4 in the morning, or at noon. You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I think maybe creating some boundaries can help with to establish that balance. And I don't know, maybe some of these great leaders, they didn't have boundaries. I would guess that they did, because all the people that you mentioned to me seem to be so spiritually grounded.
Yes.
And I think that you have to, it's really hard to be spiritually grounded if you're just going, 100 miles an hour all the time.
Yeah, good answer.
Right? I don't know.
I love your
Truth
answer.
is, I'm not a pro at it myself, so I could probably learn from your fans as much as they can learn from me. So the next step for the project is we have built a really great community in Every Monday Matters that's built up mostly of schools and companies, employees at companies, right? So there's kind of like these pockets of people. Now the next endeavor is to take it beyond that. So if you don't go to a school that we're in, or if you don't work for a company that we're working with, you can still engage in Every Monday Matters.
Okay.
And you can still be a part of this. I mean, ultimately, we want Every Monday Matters to be something that's more like for the people, by the people. Does that make sense? Like, it's a platform for you to start making your Mondays matter, and so jump in, get involved with it, and then make it your own. And then to us, what's important is share it back. Like, share your stories. And people are so weird because if they go out and do something amazing in the world, they don't want to talk about it. It's almost like you're bragging, right? And so the happy stories, the good stories don't get shared. It's just the negative, dark, crappy stories that we get to see, and that's why the majority of the internet and also television, it's just crap content. Is that so much of the good content we keep inside. So go do it, share your stories, inspire other people, Have you ever heard of the saying, tail wagging the dog?
Yes, I think so. I'm not sure.
So where usually there's a dog and its tail wags, but the dog is in charge and the tail just kind of follows.
Yes.
In some cases, the tail is
I
the dog,
know,
right? I would say that has been more of the experience at Every Monday Matters because, again, it was just going to be a book. And maybe my thought was maybe it can be like a chicken soup for the soul, where it could have Every Monday Matters for moms, Every Monday Matters for kids, these sorts of things. But as we started developing these other programs, like the school curriculum, the corporate program, it started to shift our company in a whole different direction. And so a lot of it has just been very organic, and I can't even take a ton of credit for, like, that's exactly what we wanted to happen, how it happened. So I think it was being open to hear what people were wanting from it. I think it was for sure being fearless and just trusting. I mean, so many times, how am I going to make payroll? Payday's tomorrow. How am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? And every time we did it, and every time it just came through. So there's that. I think that the change we're doing right now, my gut tells me it is going to be that hockey stick that you're talking about.
Okay.
By taking it from just something that can only be consumed within these smaller organizations and taking something that the whole world can consume, I think that's where the whole thing is going to really, really take off and change. Well, it's funny because we've trademarked the saying "You matter." Okay. Right now, if you fly to Houston, Texas, and you land at the airport, you're going to see huge banners everywhere that says "You matter," but it's not about us. It's about them telling their travelers that they matter. So we're like, okay, what do we do about that? That's a trademark infringement. But at the same time, they're putting this message out there to the world, so that's kind of good too, right? So we struggle with those things. I think at the end of the day, I try to stay in the place that, hey, we're all playing for the same team. I mean, like you told me your idea that every day you want to put out a piece of inspiration to the world. I love it. It's great. And I don't feel any sort of, oh, well, wait a second, I do that on Mondays. You know what I'm saying? It's ultimately the idea is that we want people to live every day inspired. We chose Monday as a day to start the week and as a day to have a routine.
Yes.
A day to change, a day that everyone hates, if you will. But ultimately, we don't want people only being awesome on Mondays. We want them to be awesome all the time.
Yes.
So, no, I have to think that there's plenty of room for all of us to exist and complement each other. If you look at, take for example, nonprofit organizations that build water wells in developing countries, right?
Yes.
There are so many nonprofits that are specialized in bringing clean water to people who don't have it. Okay, and they all look similar in ways. Their pictures are the same. You know, it's a child with their hands under the water faucet splashing, right? But the truth is, there's a billion people in the world that don't have clean water, or whatever the number is.
Yes, but it's non-profit.
We're not even scratching the surface. I mean, all these companies they look very similar, and one could say, oh, well, they're all doing the same thing. They're all copying each other. But are they? I don't know. Is it bad? At Every Monday Matters, we're just trying to be a catalyst, right? You can follow our program, and every Monday you can do what we say, what we want you to do. But ultimately, you're that person that is on the other side of that. They're the author of their own story. And so for us, it's a little different, because if I can get you to understand how much you matter, and maybe you did that by joining in on Every Monday Matters and following what we do. Maybe one of our Mondays is Adopt a Pet Monday. And so you go out and you adopt an animal from a shelter, so it's not euthanized. And in that moment, you learn that serving animals is my passion. Like, I love that so much. Like, that's all I want to
feel something.
Yeah. And you take that on and you go with it. You know what I'm saying? And so in some ways, Every Monday, we're just trying to inspire that, to be that thing of, hey, you matter. Figure it out. Go do it. Make it happen. I hope that everyone copies it. If everyone spent their time every day trying to inspire other people to be their best, that's a pretty cool world.
Yeah.
When I got the idea to write the book, my thought was, it was one day I was picking up litter, and I had this thought, what if I could get 300 million people in America and the rest of the world population, whatever, to pick up one piece of litter on the same day? Just one. It would take each of us a second. It's like a collective second. And how many millions of pieces of trash would be off the streets? Like that, right? What if I get all those same people to plant a tree on the same day? Or these sorts of things. What happened is when we started making money from schools buying our curriculum and from companies paying us to come in and do what we do there, all of a sudden the mind shift changed to, wow, okay, we just did $1 million in sales in our third year. How do we get to 3 million? How do we get to 5 million? Okay, well, let's look at our sales funnels. How many companies are we talking to? You know, who's selling who? What territory is here? And so when you walked into our office, we might as well have been selling, you know, these rocks. You know, here's your pet rock. How many pet rocks can we sell? It became all about sell, right? And why aren't you on the phones? Why aren't you on email? Why aren't you in this marketing campaign? You know, why aren't we going to this education convention? Like all that kind of stuff. And I realized that I created a company I didn't want to create. And I didn't want to go to work anymore. Wow. And so I said, forget it. Let's flip it on its head.
It's not about you.
Let's flip it on its head. Let's give it away.
Wow.
Let's make the mission what leads it, not the dollars that leads it. And every day we come to work, let's be true to the mission. And then see what happens. So recently I did a TED Talk, as actually a TEDx Youth Talk.
Wow.
And I didn't know what the message was going to be to these youth. And in the audience, there were 400 high school students. And then online, there were like 30,000, whatever they said that were watching. I'm like, what is the message I want to bring? So I want to bring something different. And so I ended up doing this really kind of quick and rough research project sort of thing, where I sent out these 2 questions to a group of high school leaders here in the States, in California actually. And I gave them 15 things. The first question I gave them 15 things that they had to rank, which they thought were the most important things at their school.
Okay.
So And not what they personally thought, but what they thought other students would say. So it was things like being the most popular, getting the best grades, having a boyfriend or girlfriend, these sorts of questions. What are the 15, how do you think all the kids at your school would rank these? And what the results came back were amazing, because it was, number 1 was being the best looking. Number 2 was being the most popular. Number 3 was having the largest social media following. Number 4 was, I think, being an athlete or cheerleader. And number 5 was like having nice things. I can't remember exactly but those were the top 5 that were ranked. The second question I asked them was, if you had one message, if you were nominated, and in this way I'll say the world, if you were nominated to be the spokesperson for all teenagers, high school students around the world, and you got to do a presidential address on CNN,
Wow.
what would be the message that you would want the world to know about teenagers today? And the answers that they wrote were like, we may be different, but that doesn't mean we're weird. Believe in us, we can change the world. We want the world to be a better place. All these sorts of things, right? And so, but here's the catch. Of the 15 things I asked them to rank, the thing that was ranked number 15 the most was to make a difference in my school or my community. And so how can our CNN address be, hey world, this is who we are, we're change makers, we're leaders, believe in us, support us. But the thing that matters most to us, really, 1 to 15, is making a difference. Like, where does that work? Okay? The weird part is, I totally understand the answer, because for the majority of my life, up until I was 31, I was just like every one of those high school kids.
Me too.
I wanted to be the most popular. I wanted to have the nicest things. I wanted to make money. I wanted to have girlfriends. I wanted to be an athlete. And if you look at my path, I've checked every one of them off, except for 15. And now I'm only doing 15, right? And so it's okay to be popular. It's okay to be good looking. And this is what I would tell the kids. It's okay to be all those things and to go to college and get good grades and all that kind of stuff. But I firmly believe that that's not why you matter. I believe you matter because you can make the world a better place.